Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. It seems like a lot of you are really interested in taking breaks, and I get it. We all need a break sometimes. But today we're going to go deeper than just the why. We're going to talk about the how. We're diving into this article called It's Okay to Take a Break by David Adu.
Oh yeah, I've read that one. It's great.
Yeah, he makes a really compelling case for taking breaks, especially in a world that's, obsessed with hustle culture. It's like everyone's trying to do more, do it faster, and never stop.
Right. It's like we've bought into this myth that we should be productive all the time, like we're machines or something.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, even machines need breaks.
Right.
I mean, if you run your car without ever stopping for an oil change or, any kind of maintenance, eventually it's going to break down.
Exactly. We're not machines, we're human beings.
Yeah.
And our brains, they need time to rest and recharge just like any other part of our body.
And there's actual science to back this up, right?
Oh, absolutely. There's a cognitive neuroscientist at UC Berkeley, Dr. Sahar Yusuf, and she's done some really fascinating research on this. She says that when we force our brains to work nonstop, it actually hinders their performance.
So it's not just about, feeling better or avoiding burnout. It's about actually improving our cognitive function.
Exactly. Taking breaks isn't just about preventing burnout. It's about working smarter, not harder.
I like that. Working smarter, not harder. So what are some of the specific benefits that we can expect to see when we start taking breaks?
Well, according to Adu, there are 5 key benefits, and they really touch on every aspect of our lives.
Okay, so let's break those down one by one. Starting with mental health, I think we can all agree that stress and anxiety are huge problems these days.
Absolutely. And it's so easy to get caught up in that cycle of, always being on, always being connected, and always feeling like we need to be doing something.
Like we're afraid to just sit still for a few minutes and do nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the thing is, those moments of stillness, those moments of rest, they're so important for our mental health.
They give our minds a chance to de-stress and reset.
Right. It's like hitting the pause button on a movie.
Yeah.
You get to step back from the action for a minute, catch your breath, and then come back refreshed and ready to engage again.
I love that analogy.
Mm.
Okay, so breaks are good for our mental health. What about creativity? Does taking breaks actually make us more creative?
It's funny you should ask that because Dr. Yusuf's research has also shown that when we take breaks, our brains actually shift into a different mode of processing information,
Hmm.
one that's more conducive to creativity and insight.
So instead of, just powering through a problem, maybe it's better to step away from it for a bit. Let our subconscious mind work on it in the background.
Exactly. Sometimes the best ideas come to us when we're not even trying to think about them. When we're taking a walk or taking a shower or just letting our minds wander.
It's like those aha moments that seem to come out of nowhere.
Right, exactly. And taking breaks can help to facilitate those moments.
Okay, so we've covered mental health and creativity, but what about physical health?
Well, we're always hearing about the dangers of sitting for too long and the importance of movement. Taking breaks can help us to combat those negative effects.
So it's not just about our minds, it's about our bodies too.
Right, and it doesn't have to be anything strenuous. Even just getting up and walking around for a few minutes every hour can make a big difference.
And that leads us to the next benefit, increased productivity. This one might seem counterintuitive, but it's true. Taking breaks can actually make us more productive.
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, but when we're constantly pushing ourselves, we're actually more likely to make mistakes. We get tired, we get stressed, and our focus starts to suffer.
But when we take breaks, we give our brains a chance to recharge. So when we come back to our work, we're more focused, more alert, and more productive.
Exactly. It's like anything else. If you want to run a marathon, you can't just sprint the whole way. You need to pace yourself, take breaks, refuel, and then keep going.
And that brings us to the final benefit, stronger relationships.
In today's hyper-connected world, it's so easy to get caught up in our work and neglect our personal lives. But those connections with loved ones, they're essential for our happiness and well-being.
Right. And taking breaks gives us the time and energy to nurture those relationships.
Whether it's spending time with family, going out with friends, or just having a conversation with someone we care about, taking breaks allows us to reconnect with the people who matter most.
So it's not just about being more productive at work, it's about living a more balanced and fulfilling life overall.
Exactly.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here, exploring the myth of perpetual productivity, diving into the science of breaks, and breaking down those 5 key benefits. But knowing all this is one thing, actually putting it into practice is another, and that's what we're going to tackle next. making breaks happen in your own life.
And I'm excited for this part.
Me too.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Okay, so let's talk about how to actually make breaks happen in our lives. Because it's one thing to know that we should take breaks, but it's another thing to actually do it.
Right. It's so easy to get caught up in the momentum of our day and just keep going and going and going.
Yeah, we've all been there. So the article actually gives some really practical tips for making breaks a regular part of our routine.
Oh, perfect. Let's hear them.
All right, so tip number 1, schedule regular breaks. It might seem obvious, but it's amazing how many of us don't actually do this.
Yeah, we just kind of assume that we'll take a break when we feel like we need one.
Yeah.
But the problem is that we often don't realize how much we need a break until it's too late.
Right, we're already feeling stressed out, burnt out, and unproductive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the key is to be proactive about taking breaks.
And one way to do that is to use a technique called the Pomodoro technique.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
So basically it involves working for 25 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break. And you just repeat that cycle throughout the day.
It's like built-in breaks.
Exactly. And it's a great way to stay focused and avoid burnout.
I like that. And it's simple, too.
Yeah, it's super easy to implement. You can even use a timer on your phone or computer.
Okay, so that's tip number 1, schedule regular breaks. What's next?
Tip number 2, practice mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Okay, so what does that mean in the context of taking breaks?
Well, it's really about being present in the moment and paying attention to our thoughts, feelings, and sensations.
So it's not just about zoning out or scrolling through social media.
Right, it's about actually taking a few minutes to disconnect from our devices and tune in to ourselves.
So we can do things like meditation, deep breathing, or just spending some time in nature.
Exactly. And even just a few minutes of mindfulness can make a big difference in how we feel.
It can help us to feel more relaxed, more focused, and more centered.
Okay, so we've got scheduled breaks and mindfulness. What's tip number 3?
This one's my favorite. Pursue hobbies.
Ooh, yes. This is a good one because hobbies are a great way to relax, de-stress, and just have fun.
And they can be anything you enjoy, whether it's painting, playing music, reading, hiking, or anything else that brings you joy.
Exactly. It's about finding something that allows you to express yourself and tap into your creativity.
And it's important to make time for hobbies, even when you're busy.
Right, because they're not just a luxury. They're an essential part of a balanced and fulfilling life.
Okay, tip number 4, disconnect from technology.
This is a big one. Because in today's world, we're constantly bombarded with information and stimulation from our devices.
Yeah, it's like our brains never get a break.
Exactly. So it's important to make a conscious effort to disconnect from technology on a regular basis.
And that means putting away our phones, turning off our computers, and just giving our minds a chance to rest.
Right. We can do things like going for a walk, reading a book, or spending time with loved ones without any distractions.
And this is important not just for our mental health, but for our physical health too.
Right, because all that screen time can lead to eye strain, headaches, and even sleep problems.
Okay, so we've covered scheduled breaks, mindfulness hobbies, and disconnecting from technology. What's the last tip?
Tip number 5, plan vacations.
Vacations, yes, please.
I know, right? Vacations are so important for our well-being. They give us a chance to relax, recharge, and come back to our lives feeling refreshed and rejuvenated.
And they don't have to be long or expensive. Even a short getaway can make a big difference.
Right. It's about giving ourselves permission to step away from our daily routines and just be.
And to experience new things, try new foods, and create new memories.
Exactly. So those are the 5 tips. Schedule regular breaks, practice mindfulness, pursue hobbies, disconnect from technology, and plan vacations.
I love it. It's like a recipe for a happier, healthier, and more productive life.
Exactly. And the best part is that these tips are all super easy to implement. You can start incorporating them into your life today.
No excuses.
Exactly. So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and take a break. You deserve it. All right, so we've talked about the science behind taking breaks. We've busted some myths about productivity, and we've even given you a bunch of practical tips for incorporating breaks into your daily life. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I kind of want to circle back to something we touched on earlier.
Okay, what's that?
You know how we talked about how there's this societal pressure to be productive all the time?
Yeah, like it's a badge of honor to be busy.
Exactly. So if taking breaks is so beneficial for our mental health, our physical health, and even our productivity, why is there still so much resistance to it?
That's a really good question.
Uh-huh.
And I think it goes back to that deep-seated belief that we have to constantly be doing something to be valuable.
Like we're afraid to slow down or even stop for fear of falling behind.
Right, and it's a shame because taking breaks is actually essential for us to function at our best.
It's like trying to run a car without ever stopping for gas. Eventually, you're going to run out of fuel and break down.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So how do we change this mindset? How do we start to see breaks as an investment rather than a luxury?
No, I think it starts with awareness, recognizing that this pressure to be productive all the time is largely external. It's not coming from within us. It's coming from society, from our culture, from our workplaces. Right. And once we become aware of that pressure, we can start to challenge it. We can start to question whether we really need to be busy all the time.
And we can start to prioritize our own well-being over the expectations of others.
Exactly. It's
Uh-huh.
about giving ourselves permission to slow down, to rest, to recharge, and to do the things that bring us joy.
Because ultimately, when we take care of ourselves, we're better able to take care of everything else in our lives.
Our work, our relationships, our communities.
So as you go out into the world today, remember this: taking breaks is not selfish. It's essential. It's an investment in yourself and in everyone around you.
So go ahead and take that break guilt-free.
Good.
You deserve it.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the power of taking breaks. And remember, you don't have to wait for a vacation to start incorporating breaks into your life. You can start today, even if it's just for a few minutes. Just step away from whatever you're doing, take a few deep breaths, and give yourself permission to rest and recharge. We'll see you next time.